Hello, peeps. Welcome back to another episode. I have the privilege of interviewing another one of my CCC sisters, Christian Communicator Academy, which is changing this year. We're having a new person taking over, and we'll talk about that at a later date. But that conference has brought so many of us together from 2020 when nobody was supposed to be out. And these women that I've been interviewing from stemming from that year, we have all remained friends, and God has blossomed our ministry, our voice, like things that we are doing. And so today I am so glad to interview Cheryl Lutz. Cheryl Lutz is an international speaker, a certified biblical counselor, a Bible teacher, the podcast host of Secure in God's Embrace, and a recovering people pleaser. She is likewise the author of Securely Held, Finding Significance and Security in the Shelter of God's Embrace, the 2024 first place Selah Award winner in the Christian Life category. Her mission is to assist Christian women in breaking the power of others' opinions and finding their significance and security in God. Cheryl and her husband, Alan, live in the quaint cabin snuggled in the North Georgia mountains, a good gift from their Abba Father. They have 4 adult children and 1 son-in-love. Cheryl is a proud Mimi to Ellie, Luna, and Yoda, their 2 granddogs, and a grand cat. That's a quite a family, girl. So
That's right.
welcome in. So glad to have you today. I wanted to go back and just kind of start of like what your childhood was like, and then we'll build from there. So I'm so curious to know how you were brought up.
Yeah. Thanks so much for this opportunity. It's so great to be here with you and with your peeps today. I was raised in a middle class to lower middle class family in Corpus Christi, Texas. Mom and dad and 3 sisters, so 4 girls.
Wow.
Yes. And I say, my parents were both products of their own families that had dysfunction.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom's father died when she was an infant. She was just a baby when he had a heart attack. And her mom never remarried. So, of course, that was a struggle financially and everything. And then my dad's father died of a heart attack when my dad was 13.
Wow.
And so that was really shaped his life as well. And so they came into marriage and into life, into parenting with a lot of their own pain and trauma. And I always remember my mother as being depressed. She was a very kind, gentle, loving person that, anybody who met her loved her. Her gentleness, they were drawn to that. But she was just depressed, and
Right.
she didn't have a lot of friends. Their marriage was not a good marriage. It was not a healthy marriage. They did not have a lot in common. And, it showed in their relationship, and then how that affects you as children. And my mom tended to be closer to my oldest sister and my youngest sister. And then my dad, when we were younger, was closer to myself and my sister, who's 3 years older than me. So the second born, and I'm the third born.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm the middle. And in later years, my mom, made the comment that she just felt like my oldest sister and my youngest sister needed her more than Sharon and I did.
So she looked at you as a strong one.
Yes. And I did not look at myself that way at all, of course.
Right.
And I just had to learn from a young age to kind of figure things out on my own.
Mhm.
As you know, Phyllis, when your parents are kind of checked out emotionally because of their
Mhm.
own damage, they don't always know how, then you just
Right.
learn to hold it in and figure things out yourself.
Yeah.
So my dad also struggled with bipolar, and he's self-medicated with
Okay.
alcohol, and
Right.
so his personality was different, and so you were
Mm.
always kind of walking on eggshells to see which,
Yeah.
you
Is
know.
it Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde today?
Yes, and so walking that, and with myself being a middle child, in the middle, I have a phlegmatic personality, so that
Mhm.
tends toward people pleasing and, just trying to keep everyone happy, hate confrontation.
Yeah.
But the problem was whatever worked to not get him upset one day didn't work the next day.
Yeah.
So it's just this dance of never quite being able to figure it out long term.
Oh, that's so good, Cheryl, because that's so true because we kept thinking if I do XYZ, but the thing is like they're not thinking XYZ. And so their moods are so all over the place. There isn't a system that you can put in place to make it better.
Yes, you keep thinking you'll crack the code,
Yeah.
you'll figure
Oh
it
my
out.
gosh.
And as I say these things, I always have this twinge of guilt because I know I passed a lot of dysfunction on to my kids.
Sure.
So Phyllis knows I'm not sharing this with you and your people, to throw my parents under the bus.
Totally.
They were limit. I'm sharing it to help other women who may be in that same spot.
And to understand, and I think this is the
Yes.
thing is like a lot of times when people say or they'll see my title like unmothered and then they think like, "Oh, you're going to bash on your mom." It's like I've said this so many times. I loved my mother. I loved her to death. Like I
Right.
went to her the end of her life just loving her. But within that, you have to also understand, we had great empathy for our parents, but also you have to understand there's a problem there and that's
Yes.
not healthy. And so how do we not pass that on to our kids? And I love that you said that inadvertently we do pass those things on to our children because at the time I didn't even know that I had a problem. It was just like these are my parents, right? Like I'm just dealing with my parents. But a lot of that stuff was like all the trauma was coming on to us. And so then we become parents and then we're like, oh my gosh, holy heck, what do I do? When
Yes.
these hard things come up and you don't know how to deal with it because it wasn't right the way they dealt with it, but you don't have a map to show you, you don't have direction. There's no childhood book, no doctor book to go, well, if you have crazy parents, here's what you do for this. It was just these like parenting books that were for, quote, normal kind of
Yes.
situations. And so I love that you brought that up because it's like, we're just trying to understand and going back and seeing. I love that you started with their families because that is the key, is that when we can actually go back and understand, oh, that's why they couldn't function, or maybe that's why they had mental issues, is that they were very traumatized and then it cracked something in them where they were just like, I can't deal with life. And then a lot from that generation was when you said self-medicating.
Mhm.
Yeah, they all drank. My mom drank because it calmed her bipolarism of just like
Yeah.
but then it's like, then you're drunk. And so then it's a whole nother thing. So it's these stacks of different things that are not working and there's no rhyme or rhythm to it. And then we get stuck with the residual. So I'm curious, from going from that, then you get married and become a pastor's wife of all things, where you're supposed to be so holy.
Right.
Not have any problems, not have any issues. So what was the how did you feel the need to be this perfect pastor's wife and have all the answers? Everyone's coming to you. Like, what kind of pressure was that for you?
Yes, yes, and even stepping back a little bit, and Phyllis, I know you understand this, in my family of origin, you did not talk about problems. I mean,
Yeah.
everything was so private.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm already trained to, it's all about the appearance,
Right.
close the windows when everybody's yelling, and then just keep yelling, just long don't the neighbors, and
And then
so
come out smiling.
right, and so you going in then to, I ended up in a rebellious teenage years, and
Yeah.
then the Lord, when my mom was dying of cancer, he just
Mm-hmm.
used that to draw me back to himself, either for the
Mm-hmm.
first time or the profession I'd made, whatever. He knows when that moment was, and he knows
Right.
I'm his. But I thought then at that moment, then like I said, I met my pastor, this amazing godly man, and we married. And so I'm a Christian. He's an amazing Christian. And so what could go wrong? All that's in the past, you know?
What could possibly go wrong?
And so I just came into the marriage, and with the kids, first of all, keep everything secret. That's how I was trained anyway. And then we're in the ministry. So you couldn't let, oh gosh,
Right.
which is all a lie from the pit.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 22 when I got married. I was 22 when I became a pastor's wife.
Oh my gosh, you were a baby.
Had first baby at 23, the second one at
Wow.
25, the third one, I mean, they were boom, 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 and then the fourth was a little bit of a gap. And so I was completely overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And at home with the kids, and I would start yelling, get upset about, and I'm thinking, I sound like my dad. And I remembered how terrifying that was
Mm-hmm.
when he was yelling and out of control. It's like I didn't know how to stop doing that. I mean, people would have said that I was the most calm, sweet, even keel. They would never guess that I had a temper. And I didn't know I
Right.
had a temper, Phyllis, until I had little kids. And I'm like, where is this coming from? I've never
Understandable.
had this in my life,
I know. So
But
funny.
just wish, so I'm saying to the listener, if you've got trauma in your background and you've
Mhm.
never looked at it and addressed it and gone back to do some personal healing, then
Mhm.
it's going to come out.
Absolutely. And
It
I would
comes
say
out.
it's like it's a rage. It's not
Yes.
that you're mad, it's a rage that comes
I'm
out
glad you
inside of
said
you.
that. I hate to
Yeah.
admit it, but you are exactly right.
Yeah.
It's rage.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We've
And
had to
that's
be shut down for so long, and we're just it's like our little girl screaming like, "Listen to me."
Mhm,
Like, "What's going" and
mhm.
kids will bring that out in you because they're hard and they're frustrating, and if you don't have the tools to know, like, listen, sometimes I tell my listeners, "We need a timeout. We need a break." To just say, "You know what? This is a lot right now. It's stirring up some stuff in me. Give me 5 minutes so I can go in my room and, like, breathe and figure it out, and then I'll come back and talk calmly or whatever." And not that, like, we're not going to be happy people all the time. I think that's the thing too, is like people have this idea, especially in the Christian world, of like being a good parent means you never yell at your kids or get mad. You're going to get mad at your kids and yell at your kids. And it's the rage and the unnecessary kind of yelling that we're talking about, is where it
That's right.
comes from somewhere deeper, where you're like, this isn't even about this fight right now. This is just a rage that I'm feeling within me because it triggered something from my childhood and I'm upset. So there is a difference. Like, of course you're going to be frustrated with your kids. Like, that's part of raising kids, is you get frustrated, but you can also have the communication to come back and go, "Hey, mommy did that wrong.
Yes.
I need you to hear this." Like, and have this really good communication where they feel safety. I think that's the thing, is like with our parents, we didn't feel safe
Yeah.
because we couldn't talk about it. Cause like you said, we're not allowed to, like, shut the curtains, like shut your mouth. Don't, everything's fine on the outside. And so the added pressure of being a pastor's wife, I can't even imagine, because people are coming to you looking to you for the 100% answer of like, what's the perfect way to raise your kids or be a pastor's wife or whatever it is. And yet inside you're like, I don't feel like that. So how did that feel?
Yeah, just there was just this facade. You look back at our family pictures, and we always send it out to the congregation sitting in front of the fireplace, and the kids are all dressed so perfectly, and we're dressed, and even the dog's smiling. We got the dog picture,
Dogs in line.
but it's like, wow, let's just stop the facade. We were hurting, we were hemorrhaging, and I didn't know what to do or where to turn.
Mm.
And all that pressure brought me, it was early 40s. I just spiritually, physically, emotionally, I just broke down. My
Yeah.
body, my mind,
Yeah.
everything. I was just so exhausted from the
Mm.
years of trying to parent, trying to be the perfect I was teaching Bible study. I was homeschooling my kids. We had people over almost every Sunday, and just trying
Wow.
to keep all the plates spinning, and
Yeah.
everything was just crashing down. And
How
my
did
it was
your husband feel when that happened?
he was so confused, because I
Mm.
didn't even talk to him about a lot of the things from my past.
Okay.
And he was totally open to that. I just kept everything locked inside.
Yeah.
And so as we started discussing it, and he said, I think it would really help you to talk to a therapist. I only went because he asked me to.
Yeah.
I didn't think I needed it. My life's falling apart, but I didn't think I needed it. I was a Christian. I could just keep getting my nose in the Bible, and this was going to work out. And
Yeah.
but I was so glad that he asked me to do it, and I'm so grateful that I went, because sometimes we just need that professional help,
Yeah.
no matter who we are. And
Right.
it was just so eye-opening. And one of the things the therapist helped me see early on was, he said, well, you've made people an idol, because everything was about keeping everyone happy and
Wow.
appearances. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. But then I still didn't handle it initially in a healthy way, because I went home. It's like, oh my gosh, idolatry is really bad. This was my mode. Like, so that I'm back to the scriptures on idolatry, and I start slapping these Bible verses all over myself, about how bad idolatry is. But it's like, okay, wait a minute. Then he helped me see, but he had to go deeper.
Yeah.
Why he made an idol? It's like yelling. Why? Just stop yelling. Read the scriptures on anger. I've got to get control of this. But I didn't go back and address why I had
Yeah.
rage, and talk
Yeah.
why it was so important for people to like me, for people to see certain things. And so addressing those wounds,
Mhm.
it just brings that healing. And I don't want to ever give people listening the idea that it's easy, because I would be lying to them. Um,
Mhm.
it's work, and it's
Mhm.
hard work, but it's soul work, and it's good work, and God uses it. And there's healing and hope on the other side. And I wish I could tell my younger self, when the
Yeah.
kids were so little, if I could have gotten help sooner. And so God has brought me through the when you're not forgiving yourself, the shame.
Yeah.
He's enabled me to release that. But
Yeah.
now, so I'm not saying this from a place of shame, but a place
Right.
of a passion to help younger women. If you've got those things and you can't seem to break these cycles in your family, go
Right.
back and address those wounds, and
Yeah.
that healing will come. And I wasn't close to my mom, and then with my dad, it was very based. It was a works righteousness to keep. You had to work to keep him happy, and if you lost it, you lost it, and
Right.
and so I had transferred that to God, not even realizing it.
Yeah.
And so I'm teaching Bible study, and I'm teaching women all the time about identity and understanding who they are in Christ. And I did not know, Phyllis, that I had that disconnect with God as a loving and tender father. I was still
Yes. Oh, so
could win
beautiful.
that approval.
Yeah.
And, but I'm going to lose it. So.
Yeah, I feel like when we have like that Christian walk is that it's like we keep doing these things to please God, but the other flip side of that is that we forget how much God loves us and how much he's really in the mix of, even in the pit, like he's in there with you. And my coach and teacher Carrie Garcia says that if you love well, you lead well. And I love that because it's like from your places of hurt, you can actually walk through those things with God and then come out the other side and be able to sit with someone else and say, "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Like, I know what that feels like." Or maybe I don't know what that feels like, but let me just sit here with you, not trying to fix it, not trying to, make it better, not trying to slap a holy covering over it. This is a thing that I think is really important. And I love that you, as a pastor's wife, is getting this, is that with therapy and things like that, it makes you realize. I think that we always think that if we're in a religious place, that we're not supposed to feel all the things. We're not supposed to be led by our feelings, but we are not a holy person. We are on a holy journey. And so the thing that we forget is that we are body, mind, and spirit, right? We have emotions. We have these things. I think the reason Jesus came down as half man, half God is because he knew we're human. Like when he hurt, if you really read the Bible, and it shows the struggle he went through as a human man, he's telling you, you're going to have these emotions. You're going to have these struggles. And then I'm there with you through them, not to like instantly fix them or poof, I'm going to read a Bible verse and they're going to go away. It's like,
Right.
yes, you dig into the Bible, you read these verses to have somebody stronger than you to sit with you in those things, but you are feeling those things, make no mistake. Like you have to work on those emotions. And it's the key part. I think churches are starting to see that a little bit more, but it's like, we've been in these churches, I think sometimes where they're just like, don't pay attention to your emotions, just go to God, and so then you feel guilty that you feel rage, that you feel sadness, that you feel depression, that you feel, and yet that we are human beings, like that's who we are. And so I love that you are someone who got to this place that even though you wouldn't have gone yourself, you knew, I need this in order to strengthen my walk, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
walk with the Lord and be 100% and be able to tell people, I'm not okay. And that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yes. Learning to be able to do that. And then it opens the door. When Phyllis and I met at Christian Communicators Conference in 2020, we were going through a serious trauma, disruption with our older son. And I went into that conference in a lot of pain, but I had my smile on like I always do, and never intending to mention what our family was going through.
Yeah.
And then Lori Boroff, who's co-director at the time, shares a story about her son almost going to prison and when he was in jail. And it just opened the door for me to then go to her and say, we're really struggling. My son is struggling with alcoholism. And I was able to share that then. And then I had two women after the conference reach out to me that were having struggles with their sons. If Lori hadn't said anything, I wouldn't have said anything. If I wouldn't have said anything, these women wouldn't have called me. We've got to get real to heal.
Yeah. Yes. So good. So
There's
good.
no family. God is redeeming my family. God is restoring. Our son is in a beautiful place right now.
Yeah.
So though anybody listening who is hurting or is in that hard place, and not all community is safe. And I don't ever want to act like it is, because there are communities where you will try to share these things and they will pour salt in your wounds. It's just
Totally.
sad.
Yeah. You have to find safe places.
Have to be safe.
Mhm.
But God will provide that safe community and he'll show you. But it does take
Yeah.
humility to take off the mask. We don't have a perfect family. We're struggling.
Yeah.
Coming alongside each other, and God is restoring the years the locusts have eaten in our family. He is bringing that healing. I had that strained with my mom that everybody in the world loved, but I felt like she didn't love me. Right. So it's not like she was a mean person or
totally.
Some things women have struggled with. That wasn't my mom. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, what's wrong with me if everybody else, And so then I passed that on to our older daughter. Our relationship was strange for many years. I didn't know how to love her like my mom didn't know how to love me. Now she will tell you that I'm her best friend, and I will tell you she's my best friend.
Oh, so cute.
So ladies, men, whoever, go to therapy, do the healing, get in the word, because God will redeem. That's why
Amen.
Jesus came to redeem this.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like walking through that suffering and learning from it, because he'll let you repeat it if you don't. And so walking through it and realizing like we can do it differently and we can do it more honestly is such a beautiful thing. And then just to be able to hold someone else's heart that's going through that, like, that's a beautiful story, because you're right. If Lori hadn't shared that and no one really knew that, and she was just being so vulnerable, she helped so many people in that room. And I'm sure over the years has helped so many people with those struggles by saying like, hey, me too, like we're in this together. And I love that you said to be in safe circles. And I will say this, there's been times when things have been used against me. And I just look at it this way, like God knows my heart. He knows who I am. That's on them. If they're going to use it in a negative way, you just need to move on, because there are circles that actually need you. They need our voice. They need our heart. They need us to sit with them. And so just keep moving forward in the things that are good. And if somebody's going to take it and use it for wrong reasons, that's on them. So don't get hooked up on that and be like, I should have never shared. I should have never said anything. Don't do that. Just keep moving. That's the enemy trying to stop you and shut your voice. And I'm just here to tell you that has happened to me probably more than once. But the other hundreds of people that are like, oh my gosh, thank you for talking about this. You really helped my heart. Like, I want to get help, or hey, I want to work with you, because I have this issue. Those are that's your tribe. Those are your people that that you can, that there's a reason why you are here doing this work. And it is hard work. Like, it's not easy to share your vulnerable parts. So I wanted to ask you, what was the pull to write Securely Held?
Yes, as God was doing that work of healing in my life, I felt him say, you need to write your story to help other women. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I wish I was.
Thank you, God.
I wish I could tell you. I'm like, oh, absolutely, Lord. That's what I want to do. I'm like, no.
Right.
But he just kept working on me. And so I started working on that book like 11 years ago, and it just launched last year, wow. And it just ins and outs and quitting and starting again. And God just kept bringing me back to it and just taking the next step of obedience. And he had more work to do before not that I never procrastinated, and that's why it took so long, or tried to run away.
Oh, yeah, absolutely not.
Those things are included.
Because writers are procrastinators too.
Yes. He was doing a deeper work, and the story was continuing. And it's, I just did it out of obedience. And I knew that it would help women coming behind me. And that's the goal. He doesn't waste our pain and all that we've been through. It's to help the next generation. So that's why to proclaim just what God can do when we are vulnerable and give him our mess, what he can do with it.
Absolutely. And it won an award. And I had the pleasure of doing a chapter in that book. So it was so great with a lot of our CCC sisters, like adding their chapters in there. And it's such a great book. So if you get a chance, I'm sure it's available on Amazon, Securely Held. And also I wanted to ask you, like, what was the response of your family when you finished this book?
Yeah, my immediate family was very excited for me because they knew, like, especially my kid's mom has been working on this for so long, and my
Forever.
right, my husband was really proud. Now, like siblings,
Aw.
things like that, it's not like anybody was antagonistic, but I'm not sure that they knew exactly what to do.
Yeah.
I think some have
So
read it,
honest.
you know. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, but my 4 kids, they've all got it, but no one's been ready to read it yet. It's been about a year. And
Oh,
I just told them,
wow. Interesting.
when
Yeah.
you're ready.
Yeah.
I'm not
I don't think
forcing you.
my oldest daughter's ever read it either.
Mhm.
My book.
And you know what,
Yeah.
Phyllis? If they never do, that's okay.
They've lived it. They don't.
Right. So I've prayed a lot and I've said, and I do have a chapter on our son, but I
Okay.
asked him first. I said, I would
Yes.
never share anything without,
Right. Very important.
yeah. And I said, so I want
Mm.
you to read this. And he said, I don't want to read it, Mom, but I trust you. Go ahead
Oh,
and share. And so I
amen.
did. And, my
That's
prayer
awesome.
is at one point, if while I'm here, when I'm not here, that it will even minister to them in ways that they don't know.
Totally. It's out there forever. Well, this has been such a great conversation with you, friend. And I wanted to give you a chance to let people know where they can find you. And then we'll put all of your other links in the show notes too.
Yes, they can look at CherylLutz.com is my website, and there is a free devotional on the website and some other things and information about my speaking and information about the book. I'm happy to do signed copies from the website, and
Great.
any way that I can, continue the conversation to encourage anyone listening who may be where we are or have been, and however we
Yeah.
can help. So.
Oh, this was great. It was so good talking to you. I'm so happy that your book got an award and after 11 years, because I know
Well,
it's so hard to finish it. I'm in the middle of edits right now of the second book. I'm all this never gets easier.
I
And
know, right?
we just have to keep but I love that you said too, like there's been some things that have happened in between the start of this book and now where I think God was like making me wait because the last chapter is very poignant to some things that have happened in my life recently. And so, yeah, I think it is a timing thing of, when it needs to be completed. But make sure that if you get a chance, get that book and also go to Cheryl's podcast, Secure in God's Embrace, and just follow her along. She is a wealth of information and also she's just a really great lady. So I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I will see you next time, peeps. Have a good day.